Hello, my name is Aubrey Van Bentham, and for those of you I have not met, I am working in a department with Valerie as the coordinator of content and training material. So today I'm going to show you a little bit about Canvas and kind of introduce you to this platform. Canvas is a learning management system, also called an LMS. Those of you who have recent experience in the university or taking online courses, you may be familiar with Blackboard. Blackboard is kind of the older version of a learning management system, and Canvas is one of the many new learning management systems that have come on board. And it is very fancy, got lots of bells and whistles, and is very exciting for us to be able to use. This is the platform that Hope University is using, and so we will be able to use. Now, it does cost. We'll be able to use Hope's university's Canvas platform, but we also have the ability to create a free account, and that is what you're seeing today. I have created a free account, and Valerie and I have been working off of that. So these are the different classes that I have created. If you'll take a look at the bottom center, there is our teacher certificate, the first course that we have created. So I'll click on that. What you're seeing today is from my viewpoint as a teacher, so it will look very, very similar as a student, but I want to be able to show you some of the editing features. So as a student, when you log in, this is what the course would look like. Now, we have not actually hammered out how these classes will be organized, but for the sake of example, here is the teacher certificate, and here are all 8 modules that you can see there. Now, module 2, we went ahead and put online so that you could see what this looks like to take, taking a workshop and turning it into an online platform. So again, very rough draft of this, but it will give you some ideas. So as a student, you can go and you can click on any of these, and it'll take you to the assignment or the page. If you're familiar with Module 2, How Children Learn Best, this is virtually the same layout that you would see on the schedule for Module 2. So at the top, we start with a small group discussion, going into a devotional time. Here we have an assignment where they respond to the devotional, because again, they're not meeting in person. Their opener that is already scheduled, and then a workshop. So this first workshop we went ahead and actually put online. So these are all the different pieces in it. The opening activity, the learn piece, and this is the content page that talks about LEARN, the activities within that. Then the closing activity, praying for your one child. And then we added a quiz at the end of that to reassess learning for workshop 1. Workshop 2, if it was up on here, it would look very similar to that. It would have all those activities underneath it. The homework assignment to end module 2, and then a closing affirmation. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the first one, the small group discussion, and just walk you through these pages, just to give you a quick look. So the small group discussion is a really neat feature of Canvas, because it will allow me as a teacher to assign students into groups, which is a very new feature for online learning management systems, something that Blackboard could not do. And so it's definitely something that you can see as a theme throughout the different workshops that we have. We've moved to this small group method, and a concern about using online tools is that we kind of lose that personal experience, that relational experience. And so the way that I've done this, I created 4 groups, and you can create as many groups as you want. If you know that you have a certain number of students in your class, in your section, and you want a certain number of students in each group, you would just devise how many groups you would need. You can name them however you want. And then you can decide whether or not you want the computer to automatically put students into groups, or if you want to manually do it. So if you manually do it, then you would be able to go in and decide which people are in which groups. Now, as a student, you would come in, you would read this small group discussion. This is exactly what you would find in the guidebook. It's just copied exactly from there. It says, then take the time to read and respond to 2 of your classmates' posts. So students would read these questions and then they would respond to 2 of the posts within their group, because again, they're only going to be seeing and discussing with, so they'll see posts down here at the bottom of people that are just in their group. So they get kind of a smaller experience. If you've ever had an online class where you've had a discussion and many times there are a lot of people in your class, you end up with a really long list of posts and threads, and you don't ever get to know one person. You just pick one post, read it, and respond. So if they're in smaller groups, then again, it would allow them to participate in that relational aspect. This bottom box down here, if we click reply, this is what a student will see. They see this big box down here where they can type in text to answer those questions. They could also type them on a Word document, and then in the bottom left corner down here, they can attach that document. Another really neat feature here, if you can look in the middle, if you see where my mouse is, there's a record and upload media option. So if I click that, then what it's going to allow me to do is actually video myself right here and now. So I can video myself, or I can just record audio, and that's really cool. So if your computer has that ability, you could just answer those 4 questions by talking. And there are some pieces of Module 2 where we actually ask the students, and in the introduction, we ask them to introduce themselves via video if they have that option. So that's really neat. And then they also have the option here to upload media or video. So later on, when we want to see examples of teaching and things, they are able to upload their videos there. They would just click post reply. So when they're done, on the bottom right-hand corner, there's a next button, and it just flips you to the next part of the module, basically like you're going through a book. So here is the devotional they would begin with. Again, this is a fusion of everything that is in the guidebook and that is in the script for Module 2, and it walks them through the Bible portion that they would be doing. Here it does tell them if they have their own Bible to read from their own Bible, but the scripture is also here. So we go through, there's a prayer at the end. It's the same prayer you find in the script. We click the next button, and this is where they would be able to respond to that. So this one gives them an option if they want to share. Later on, we can make decisions if we want to require things like that and how many points they'd be worth and so on and so forth. But this is just a discussion or an assignment. They would just be posting this. So this is not a discussion board. They wouldn't be responding or reading other people's. They're just telling you as the teacher basically what they got out of that devotional time. And then you would have the option to respond to the individual students if you wanted to. Moving on to the next page, we find our opener. This is the opening activity. And I would love for you to do this activity. So you probably have some paper in front of you. It says here, for this activity, you're going to need a blank sheet of paper and a pen or a pencil, and then click on the video to do the activity. What I wanted to show you with this was just some options that are available to us. This video is created, I made it through an animation software. So it took me about 3 hours, so not a super fast process, but kind of a fun way to integrate some technology without having them read every single page. This gives them something a little bit more interactive. So I wouldn't use this exact example in an actual classroom, but we could use something like this. So I'll go ahead and click on it and let you watch it.
using.
So you can see how this would kind of brighten up an online class, give them an activity to do. If they're in front of it and wanted more time, they could obviously easily pause the video, finish drawing their coin. We did take this from the international script, so some of these things would become a little more specific. If we're using this with Hope University, we could tell them to draw the front and the back of a quarter, so on and so forth. There's a debrief here to discuss a little bit more about how that relates to the workshop. Basically, we're too familiar with the things around us, sometimes that being our children's ministry, that we miss some new ideas. So we'll click next. This begins the first workshop. So here we see workshop 1, how children learn best. This they would read. This is the introductory portion. And then it tells you, before we get started, let's start this session with a cheer. The bottom here, click on the cheer to complete our first activity. So they can click on the link here. And this activity was a little difficult to turn into an online example. Originally in the script, this had you go and find a partner, say something about yourself, and if they had that in common, you both waved your hands in the air and shouted, "Woo!" Now, this, we went ahead and did find a way to turn it into an online discussion. So we have them practice the woo, and I tell them right there at your computer, in this discussion board, you're gonna list 5 things about yourself, then read your classmates' responses. When you find things you have in common with someone, reply to their comment with woohoo and what you have in common. And then I give an example. Katrina posts, "I love to take walks on Sunday, bake cakes, and teach Sunday school. I'm a terrible singer and I have 3 children." I respond by saying, "Woo, I also love to teach Sunday school and have 3 children." And then I write, "Don't forget to wave your hands in the air when you type woo." So again, it's not the same as being in person and seeing someone face to face, but again, this is module 2. So they've been going through this class together. There are some pieces in the introduction where they get to know one another and they can video and see each other's faces. So there are some ways for us to bring in that relational aspect. If we click next, it should take us to Learn. So this is the Learn page, and this page is quite long. It has all of the content from Learn, from the script and from their guidebooks. And we've broken it up. So this learner-centered portion, I recommend here it being a video. And I have a script that is the script from the workshop edited for this one section to be turned into a video, about a 6-minute or less video. And so that would be there, possibly Gordon and Becky, Valerie, someone videoing a nice, very professional quality video speaking to the student taking this class. Experiential learning is written and then they do an activity. So they read this and then they do this activity. This experiential learning activity was the valuable item activity. This is where they exchanged a valuable item with someone else in order to experience what it was like for God to give us his son, his most valuable item. So this one we would need to be a little creative with, and our brainstorm idea was to give an example of KidZCon and have them go and find a young person that they can do this with, maybe a niece or one of their children or someone in their Sunday school class, or do it with their Sunday school class, and then to report back. So they would actually go kind of stop here and go do that experiential lesson with them and come back. And then when they're done, they would respond to it, and we would give them something to write about, and they would read about other people's experiences and so on. Click here, it would take us back to the Learn page. And we scroll back to where we were, experiential learning. We did our activity applicable to their lives. So they read a little bit, and then this is the rope activity. This was the activity where you had a nice long rope of 168 centimeters that represented 168 hours. And then you put a piece of paper over 1 centimeter representing the 1 hour a week that we have kids in Sunday school. So this is a Prezi, which is another form for us to engage with. I use these a lot in college. They're kind of just a real fancy PowerPoint, and as an observer, they're much more engaging to kind of look at. So Hopefully it'll load and I'll be able to show that to you in a second. There it is. So we can make this bigger. And then it'll play if we want it to, but it'll go through. So this just says the value of time, making the most of what we have. You can see an hourglass here. So it'll take us to our first point. How do you spend your time in a week? Write it down. List the things you do in a week and how much time you spend on each. So this actually asks them to stop, pause, and write down where their time goes each week, really to think about their time. There are 168 hours in a week. So then we relate it to their children. What about your kids? It's amazing how quickly your week fills up. Think about your children at home or at church. Where does their time go? And have the student jot down some ideas. So they're actually jotting down, what are their kids spending their week on? A lot of them will probably say TV, videos, video games. And out of 168 hours a week, how many hours do our children get to spend with us? And what about with God? Just getting them to think about how many hours that actually would be. If you teach in children's ministry, the answer is 1 to 3 hours a week. That's assuming they came to church. A drop in the bucket in their busy weeks. This chart kind of gives them an idea. It's about 0.02% of their time is spent at church within their week. So really not the same impact as seeing this on a rope, but we get to see it on a graph, bringing in that same kind of wow factor of we just don't have a lot of time with our kids. So let's make it count. This is how much time we have during the week to turn information into life transformation. We need to make sure that the way we teach children in these few hours relates to their whole week. So talking about that application piece. They would close it and just simply keep going and reading the rest of this. Relational learning, this is another area where we would use a video. 6 minutes or less is really proven, research-based, to be about the time span that is best for some kind of video that you're asking a student to watch. And that script fits within that time limit for relational learning. And then one point of the lesson, we mixed up the order a little bit to give them the examples beforehand, and then we ask them to actually try it out on their own. So at the end here, they click the 1-point assignment. It'll take them to the next page where we ask them to choose 3 Bible stories, spend some time thinking about it. We walk them through the whole process right here, and that's what they'll submit. So they'll submit an assignment. And the exciting thing here, again, that Canvas can do is I have set it for when a student submits their assignment, it will automatically respond to them with a peer review. So if you're a student, you submit your assignment here, and then automatically you'll get a kickback of a peer review, someone else's assignment to look at. And so this prompt asks them to review the Bible stories and the 1-point statements of their peer review. Return the assignment to your fellow student with 1 positive comment and 1 way they could improve their 1-point statements. Maybe making them simpler, making them more clear, more child-friendly, things like that. So there are ways for us to have students interact with each other's work as well. And of course, you can see all of that as a teacher. There's a peer review button on that right-hand side. This last page asks them to pray for their one child. This is a discussion again, so it allows them to post their prayer that they wrote for their child, and that way as a community we can be praying together for those children. The last thing here is a quiz. I'm going to go ahead and hit preview so that you can see what it looks like, but it basically assesses their knowledge of the Learn example. They can take this quiz up to 3 times. I can set it to be however many times I want it to be. And they don't see the right answers. Well, these aren't really right answers because they're short answer questions, but they can see them when they're done taking it for the final time. So these are short answer. How can you make your classroom learner focused? Give 3 examples. A multiple choice question asking them, students remember how much of what they teach others. That would be 90%. What makes the lesson experiential? And so on and so forth. So these are questions about the workshop. There are 7 of them. Okay, and then they'd hit submit quiz at the bottom. So if we're done with that module, I'll go back to modules here on the left, and we'll see all of the modules here. There are so many other options and really neat things that you can do in Canvas. So on the left-hand side here, we see a lot of things broken up. Grades, as a teacher, you can see and grade things very easily here. People, you can see the profiles of each of your students. Files, you can keep documents and things on here, your syllabus. Outcomes, we have the ability here to really set goals and outcomes for different groups, for modules, and that's really a great way on the teacher end to keep planning consistent and our goals in mind. And then conferences down here on the left, you'll see there's an option for virtual lectures in real time. This would allow you to create maybe a conference time for all of your students to meet, and say you have maybe 1 or 2 of these throughout the class where students and you can get together and really have an online class time, which is really great. Collaborations is a location where you can connect your Canvas with your Google Docs and actually collaborate together as a class, as a section of a class, if you have many sections of a class, on an assignment, a document. You can set them to collaborate within their groups. Just some really neat tools, the attendance and then settings. Canvas Commons over here on the way far left is also a really neat tool. This allows us to share information as teachers. It also allows us access to lots of other teachers who are on Canvas, who are creating classes. We can see examples, we can see their actual classes. And so as a teacher, this is basically, if you're familiar with places like Teachers Pay Teachers, this is similar to that. So just a huge online collaborative community for teaching anything and everything. Here you can choose what you're looking for. Like I want some examples of quizzes and how teachers have put those together. So I'm going to click on that. Discussions, content pages, videos, things like that, which is really cool. The inbox allows you to have email conversations here on Canvas so that your communication can stay here. And calendar also allows you to sync with your students, so you can post your office hours on here as a teacher and say I'm available at these times, and your students would be able to look on and see when you're available to talk or to call you and things like that, or would be able to schedule a meeting right in your calendar, which is really cool. They can sign up for your office hours. So that's a really easy way. It takes a lot of time off of your hands. You post hours that you're available. Students would just then sign up for office hours as they come available. So if we'll go back to our dashboard, we'll see different classes. These are some different ways that we have brainstormed for Kids at Heart that we can use Canvas. You can see the 3 in red here are our certificate programs, the teacher certificate on the bottom, advanced teacher certificate, and then leader certificate. We may not break them up like that. That's all still to be decided as you guys discuss. The Children's Ministry Leader Coaching, this was an idea to use what Gordon has been doing with mentoring children's ministry leaders one-on-one to kind of create a space for that online for us to add more coaches, places for resources, discussions, things like that. Short-term missions training and team leader training. These are 2 classes that we could create to help better serve our internal needs of Kids at Heart, which is exciting. This Canvas 101 is my tutorial that it automatically gives me to be able to learn how to use Canvas. But there's one thing in here I do want to show you that Canvas does, which is really cool, and that is ARC. Those of you on this conversation have heard a lot about ARC. Some of you may have watched the video. It's the one tool that we do not get in the free Canvas. So everything you've seen is identical if you're paying for it. However, ARC is not available to us if we don't pay for Canvas. So we'll have it through Hope University, just not for our other resources. I personally don't feel it is an absolute necessity. I think it will be a great tool for the classes we partner with in Hope University, though. Okay, here we go. So here's a video, and this is what it would look like if we use ARC. You saw before what the videos look like when I posted them. You have to click on them and they'll play. Here, it's already embedded. So it just makes it load a little faster, and then you click play. I'm going to push play, and then we're done. So as it's playing, you have the option to type in this box and comment. So it'll tell you right in that spot, you'll see as a teacher little comment bubbles over the areas and places that people commented on. So for example, if I really liked this quote, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Very, very well said. That would, and I wanted to comment on it, I would click in this comment box, say, wonderful quote, Mrs. V, and hit comment. Or, I don't understand this quote, Mrs. V, comment. And as a teacher, I would then be able to go in and answer that person's comment, respond to it. The ways that we can use this in Kids at Heart, a lot of the videos that I would like to film for the workshops like I showed you, we would have the ability to say when we're filming it, now go ahead and pause this video and give us your thoughts on X, Y, and Z. And so that allows some interaction within the video itself. And that's all that ARC is. It's built into Canvas, built by the same people, and so kind of a neat feature. Well, I think that's about everything. Feel free to holler if you guys have any questions. And it was great chatting with y'all.